So the next thing is like how we are going to handle the live issue. So what is mean by live issue? So generally, so the escaped defects are called as an live issue. So escape this is in the sense from the QA hand it is get escaped and it is identified by the either the business people or by the end customer. So which means like whenever the end customer finds some issue, then obviously like so like we will be giving the high priority and we need to fix the issue immediately. So the reason why we need to give the high priority in the sense because the code is currently available in the live because it is impacting the customer directly. If something is not working as expected, it is going to like create the loss to the business, which means like we need to provide the immediate fix for the same. So what the development team used to do in the sense, so they used to like fix the defect immediately. Okay, so they will be giving the high priority and it will be considered as an critical defect and the developer will provide the solution for the same and we are going to do the retesting and post completing the retesting. So how we are going to deploy the defect to the prod environment in the sense because like whenever we need to add a new code, so we generally need to do the deployment, but like generally right we will be always having the scheduled deployment. So whenever we are introducing the new feature, right, so we will be having the plan, so like when to deploy the new feature in the production environment. But here so the this for the live issue, like we don't have any plan. So generally, right, they will do the hot fix release. Okay, so what is mean by hot fix release in the sense? So it is an urgent release, or they can tell it as of an emergency release. Okay, they will do the emergency release. So the reason is like because like it is impacting the customer. So as part of the hot fix, okay, so the developers will deploy the code to the production environment so that like the issue will be resolved as soon as possible. So generally we are going to do the hot fix. And now comes to the next part. So after completing the hot fix, right? So the next question comes to the development team as well as to the QA team. So why this defect is not identified as part of our testing or as part of the development activity. So they will be asking the RCA. So RCA is nothing but we call it as an root cause analysis. Okay, so the root cause analysis will be done as a team because everyone is responsible. So not only the testing team is responsible for the escaped defect, so even like the business people, the business analyst, the development team, and all the QA team are responsible. So why I'm telling like everyone is responsible in the sense, so whenever like a defect is identified, so the first thing is like as a QA, so we need to verify whether we have covered that particular scenario in our in-track testing. Okay, so generally like we need to check whether the particular scenario is covered. If the scenario is covered, right, so then we can look for the test evidence. So basically like whenever we do some testing, so we always attach the test evidence in the appropriate user story and we can showcase the test evidence like during the interact testing, like we have tested the same functionality which is working as expected, which means some new functionality has impacted the this particular functionality. Okay, so which means like how we can avoid this in the sense by adding more regression scenarios. So we can provide the solution like the more regression scenarios should be added so that like we can avoid this type of testing. So basically like we should provide some solution as well. Okay, so this is one case. And in other hand, so let's say you haven't covered that particular scenario. So when it is covered, when it is not covered, so the next thing is like, so we need to check whether it is like in scope or out of scope. So when it is mentioned in the user story, so we call it as an in scope. So basically in an user story, so they will be mentioning it as an acceptance criteria. So we should check whether the acceptance criteria is mentioned. If the acceptance criteria is mentioned for the same, then we can say it is in scope. So within the scope. So if it is within the scope, then we should cover that scenario. But even if it is within the within the scope, if you have missed to cover that particular scenario, then it is purely the QMS. So we should accept the fault. So we should responsible for the appropriate escalation. But if it is of an out of scope, if something is not mentioned in the requirement, so we can say, so the specific scenario or the specific condition is not mentioned in the user story. Okay, so by this way, like we can project it. And how we can avoid this live issue in the sense, so basically like by doing the better test coverage. So test coverage in the sense by deriving all possible scenarios. So we should always derive all possible scenarios so that like we can avoid the live issues. And also like we should do the regression testing in an effective way. So the regression testing is the key thing, because like whenever like you are working on some user story, so we should focus upon the regression test case as well. So the reason is like we should always ensure that there is no code breakage due to introduction of the new code. So by this way we can eliminate the like live defect. But whenever there is a live defect, so as a team, like we will do the root cause analysis, and like we will identify the solution. Okay, and we should follow this process. So in upcoming iteration or in upcoming sprint, right? So we used to follow this process, because like as a team, like we have taken this solution, so everyone should follow the same. So the business analyst should cover more, the development team should look for the integrations, and the testing team should like increase the test coverage or to increase the regression test case. Okay, so as a team, like we should work. So we should not blame the other one. So we should not blame the dev team, or we should not blame the business team, because like we are a one team. So when we are working as a team, it is team responsibility. So as a team, like we always do the RCA, and post that like the scrum master will share this RCA document to the stakeholders. Okay, so whenever there is a live issue, so the first thing is like they will identify the solution and they will fix it, and they will do the hot fix, and they will close the defect. And post that, the post action is like, so they are going to do the RCA. So why they are doing the RCA in the sense, so that we can avoid this kind of defects in the future. So that is the reason like we are doing the RCA, and not to blame someone. Okay, so this is how like we will be handling the live issue in the project.